Macanudo Inspirado and Robusto. Hey everybody, I'm okay, this is Cigar Vlog. So, anybody that has seen my previous Macanudo, because I've only actually done one before this, knows that I'm not exactly a big fan of Macanudo. I got this as part of a bundle, so that's why I have this. Anyway, yeah, typically, Macanudo tends to be the quintessential old man cigar. As in, they're kind of known for being a little mild to the point of not having the best flavor, or like flavor in general. That said, depending on which one you get, you could end up totally blitzed on nicotine. Construction doesn't seem to be too bad, except I noticed the cap here is a little off. There seems to be only... It looks like there's one, but there's actually a double cap on there. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a couple little white dots on here. That is my fault, de facto. Turns out I had a little problem with over-humidification, and there is a little bit of cigar cheese on there, otherwise known as mold. Now, a word about mold. If you have mold on a cigar, it's not the end of the world. A lot of old vintage cigars typically have a little bit of mold, and they smoke just fine. The main thing is, if you have mold on your cigar, just kind of, wipe that off as best you can, and make sure it's not like more mold than tobacco. It's not toxic, as far as I know, but apparently it just doesn't taste very good. So as long as we're aware of that, any kind of funky off flavors should be relatively diagnosable. That said, I hope that I'm not getting just mold flavor, and the cigar actually is a Macanudo that tastes like something. Anyway, a couple of miscolorations in the wrapper here. I don't know if there was a torcedor that just kind of didn't give a shit that day, or if it was actually just my fault. I'm kind of inclined to say it was my fault, because I have this humidifier that sticks on the top, and occasionally when I fill it up, it kind of drips. So those might actually just be water damage. So, like I said, that could be my fault. Macanudo is one of those lines that's been around forever and a day, and like I said, is the quintessential old man cigar. People keep buying them, they keep making new stuff. There's actually one Macanudo that has a metal band, which is kind of interesting. Okay. This one's turned out a little different. I think there's actually flavor here. The overall aroma, not gonna lie, is kind of reminding me of a pool hall. That or a really low tier bar. But overall, yeah, a little bit of baking spice, a little sweet, slightly bready. I want to say slightly bready. Keep in mind, I just started this, so. Definitely off to a better start than the last Macanudo I had. So I'm going to smoke this down with first inch here. And I hope I'm not seeing a bend in there. That's kind of weird. I'm going to smoke this down to first inch and see if anything wakes up. Okay, so seems to be a pretty good inch. Retrohale seems to have kind of a sandalwood kind of thing going on. Overall though, a little spicy. I don't mean like baking spice. Of course, I stand right in the tunnel and really ends up making the wind blow all over my mic. Okay. Well, anyway, there's a bit of a spiciness to it. I want to say slightly a woodiness. Some of them kind of having a hard time picking out. The cap does not want to stay on. It's so odd. There's some flavor in there that I can't quite put my finger on. It's kind of underneath the spiciness. Clean tobacco is in there as well. So far, not bad. Definitely a lot going on in here. Also, this band is getting a little loose, so I'm probably going to go ahead and yank that for the next update. But, yeah, so far this is definitely turning out to be a better Macanudo than the last one I had. or any Macanudo I've had. So anyway, back to you at the halfway point. Okay, so ash held on pretty good, and it just fell off, so I'm gonna go ahead and call this a good, pretty decent little halfway point here. Like I said before, most Macanudos I've had were a little lacking in the flavor department. That is not this. This has got flavor, and I am extremely grateful for that. That said, the flavors I get, not necessarily my particular cup of tea, but then again, that's just personal preference. The flavors I'm getting off of this so far have been a lot of spice. Past the first inch, it kind of mellows out just a bit, but it's still very prevalent. Kind of this little grassy, little earthy, little woody, very heavy sandalwood. Kind of almost this flowery, perfumey kind of thing going on. Then you get to the retrohale. That's where things get really interesting. Because the first one you do is going to end up like punching you in the face with a fist covered in sawdust. It's so sandalwood. And then as you go, it actually gets a little bit more complex. You get that sandalwood, but then it gets this weird kind of like handmade artisanal soap quality. I don't mean soap in a bad way. I mean, like, you know what I'm talking about. You've been lost one day, walked into the Whole Foods, had to cover your pistol so they don't kick you out the store, and then they end up kind of wandering around, look at the off-brand cereal, and you find yourself in the soap aisle, and there's that kind of clean, exotic smell that comes from handmade soap. It smells good. So here comes the bicyclist. And there he goes. But anyway, it's got that kind of clean but exotic smell with that real heavy soap, not soap, sandalwood, dripping over my own tongue. And every so often there's like almost a butterscotch in the very back of your throat, which is very interesting. Like I said, not my particular flavor preference, but it is definitely interesting, which is something that I didn't think I'd actually be saying about a Macanudo. So far, my drink recommendations would be a good dark espresso, or it's just straight up tequila. I don't mean like a margarita, I mean straight tequila blanco. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and smoke this down to the nub, see what happens from there. Okay, pretty good point for a final update here, because it's getting to the point of finger burning. Past the halfway point, things get a little interesting, because it kind of jumps flavors from the kind of soapy, handmade soap thing to real hard sandalwood. All of a sudden it got really quiet, and I'm like super paranoid about like my voice carrying all the way across the field. But the spiciness kind of died out right about the halfway point. There's still a little bit of pepper to it, but not a whole lot. I noticed more towards the end, a very solid campfire in the wood smokiness. So yeah, starts off really spicy, stays spicy until about the halfway point. You get a little sweet, a little wood, a little grass, a little earth, with a lot of sandalwood. Retrohaled ends up taking on a couple of different notes. First off, kind of sandalwood, like punching you in the face with, just straight sawdust sandalwood. Then you get that sandalwood kind of, like I said, handmade soap. And every so often there's something a little butterscotchy and something almost meaty, which is kind of odd. And even now, there's still something occasionally I get that I can't quite put my finger on, which is just weird and kind of bugging me. But yeah, definitely one of the most interesting cigars that I've smoked in a very long time. And the line of my nose will not stop running. Anyway, definitely by all means check these out. I actually didn't think I'd say this about a Macanudo, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this whole thing so far. And it's kind of obvious that there's a reason why Macanudo's been around for a while. Yeah, so he's walking along with a dog. But anyway, every so often, they get something right. And this one they got right. If you like this review or any other review, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know if you have a different experience. Beyond that, check out my Twitch stream. Sunday, Friday nights, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Recorded for maybe about 2 weeks afterwards. Anyway, beyond that, I'll see you next time.